Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're taking a slightly different path, starting in a garden, actually.
Oh, intriguing.
Yeah, with a really fascinating plant, the hydrangea.
Ah, hydrangeas. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And they do that amazing color changing thing, right?
Exactly. It's like nature's own mood ring. You see these vibrant pinks, and then somewhere else there's suddenly these brilliant blues or even purples.
And it all depends on the soil, the pH, the
Yeah.
aluminum, stuff like that.
Right. Gardeners have known this for ages. There's even that old trick, planting rusty nails near them to encourage the blue.
Yeah, I've heard that one. It's wild how directly they just absorb what's around them.
And then they display it right out there for everyone to see. It's quite something.
It really is.
And that whole idea, that natural process, is actually the perfect metaphor for our deep dive today.
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this.
We're calling it the hydrangea principle.
Mm.
You are what you absorb. And our mission really is to explore that human parallel. How our environment, the inputs we absorb, sometimes consciously, sometimes not, and, our daily choices, how they all fundamentally shape who we are.
Who we become, yeah.
We've gathered insights from quite a few different sources to help you, the listener, understand these, often invisible forces.
Forces that are always acting on us.
Exactly. And crucially, how you can maybe get more intentional about cultivating your own inner world.
Taking control of the soil, so to speak.
Precisely. So, okay, let's unpack this hydrangea thing a bit more. It's not just pretty. It's like a living litmus test.
Right. It passively takes in whatever the environment offers.
And then shows the results. So the question for us, for you listening, is how might you be like that flower, absorbing things from your surroundings?
And maybe changing your internal color without even noticing.
Yeah.
Well, what's really fascinating is how direct that mirroring can be. And often, like you said, totally unconscious.
Do the sources give examples?
Oh, absolutely. Really vivid ones. Think about being in traffic, right? Someone does something nice, lets you merge, a small thing.
Okay.
Then maybe just a few minutes later, you find yourself waving someone else in. You just pass it on.
Without even thinking about it, yeah. It just happens.
Exactly. Or maybe someone shares a genuinely kind word, or maybe a prayer, something encouraging.
Uh-huh.
You absorb that positive feeling, you carry it, and then later maybe you get home, and your spouse gets the benefit. A kind word, a warm hug.
Because you absorbed something positive earlier.
It's a direct reflection, an immediate echo of what you took in. These aren't just random acts.
So it's like a ripple effect, almost instantly. You receive, then you transmit something similar.
Pretty much. Which leads to this really powerful idea from the sources. Your mind is like a sponge, absorbing everything it dwells on.
A sponge. Okay, that's a strong image.
It is. And it's not just a nice phrase. It feels like a real description of how it works. If you're constantly soaking up, say, negativity or cynicism,
Your sponge gets filled with that stuff.
it gets saturated.
Yeah.
But conversely, if you're regularly exposed to wisdom or kindness or inspiration,
Then those qualities start to soak in instead.
they permeate your thinking, your feelings. So it really pushes us to ask, directly,
Yeah.
are you cultivating a soiled sponge or a clean one?
And what are the consequences of that long term, especially now with just so much information coming at us constantly?
Oh, absolutely. Keeping that sponge clean, or at least being aware of what it's soaking up, feels like a huge challenge today.
It's not just avoiding the obviously bad stuff, is it? It's being discerning about everything: news, social media, entertainment.
Yeah, the constant stream. It all vies for our attention, our mental space.
And the sponge can get, murky without you even realizing it's happening.
Right. Which means we need a level of intention that, frankly, most of us probably don't apply often enough.
It's not about building walls, maybe, but more like being a conscious curator.
Exactly. Consciously selecting what you allow significant space in your mind, understanding that every input leaves some kind of trace. It shapes that internal chemistry.
Like the soil in the hydrangea.
Just like the soil in the hydrangea, it's a dynamic process.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. Because it's not just about us as individuals.
Right.
Our sources show that scales up. It becomes about intentionally building an environment, even in really high-stakes places, like professional sports.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they bring up Coach Chuck Noll, the guy who built that Pittsburgh Steelers dynasty back in the day.
Legendary coach. Okay.
Noll had this, kind of unusual approach. He was apparently quite reluctant to trade for players from other teams.
That is unusual. You'd think experience from elsewhere would be valuable.
And he was also hesitant about bringing in coaches from other clubs, too.
Okay, why? What was his thinking?
Because, according to the sources, he didn't want them talking in the locker room about how things were done with their old team.
Ah, so he was worried about contaminating the culture he was building.
Exactly. He wasn't just focused on the X's and O's. He was meticulously trying to create a very specific atmosphere, a positive, unified culture, like controlling the team's pH level.
That's a great way to put it. He saw that outside influences, even if they seemed harmless, could introduce these competing pH levels.
Undermining the specific environment he needed to win, he understood that everyone brings their old soil with them.
Wow. He was basically building a sealed ecosystem, wasn't he? Protecting its internal chemistry.
Makes you think, doesn't it, about our own personal ecosystems. If a football coach was that deliberate about a team,
What does that imply for how we should manage our own soil, our own minds?
yeah,
That connects really directly to something else in the sources, sometimes called the temple principle.
a temple principle. Okay.
It's this idea, found in lots of different traditions actually, about treating your inner world, your mind, your body, with profound respect, like it's a sacred space.
A dwelling place for something important, your spirit, your highest self, whatever you call it.
Precisely. And if you view it that way, then every choice about what you let in, what you absorb, it becomes, well, almost a sacred decision.
Not just a casual choice about what movie to watch or which website to browse.
It elevates it. It demands careful stewardship. It's about intentionality, not just as a tactic, but as a kind of reverence for your inner life.
Reverence for who you are and who you're trying to become.
Exactly. There's a spiritual insight mentioned from Romans about being controlled by the Spirit if it lives in you, and how that Spirit gives life because you're aligned with something good.
So it's about an internal shift, an alignment.
That then becomes visible, like the hydrangea's color changing. It shows up in your words, your actions, your whole attitude.
You're ensuring that what you allow into that inner temple is actually worthy of being there, that it fosters life, not...
Not depletion or negativity, yeah.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So what we absorb changes us internally, and then it ripples outward. We talked about the positive ripple, like that kindness chain reaction. But this raises a really important question. What happens when the thing we absorb is, say, fear? Or maybe a really narrow, unexamined focus?
And that absorption leads to actions.
With big, negative, unintended consequences.
That is the crucial question. And history, unfortunately, gives us some stark lessons there. The sources bring up the assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC.
Right, the Ides of March.
Exactly. The conspirators, these powerful senators, they were driven by fear, real fear.
Fear of what specifically?
Fear that Caesar was going to ditch the republic, make himself king, basically, end their whole way of life.
So their motive was clear: kill Caesar.
And restore the republic. Simple cause and effect in their minds. Action A leads to result B.
But history is rarely that simple, is it?
Almost never. The irony is brutal. The chaos that followed Caesar's death didn't restore the republic at all.
No, it led to civil war, didn't it?
Exactly. And out of that chaos rose Caesar's great-nephew, Octavius.
Who became Augustus, the first emperor.
Precisely. He ended the republic for good and established the Roman Empire, a de facto monarchy, the absolute opposite of what the conspirators wanted.
Wow. So their action, driven by fear of a monarchy, directly paved the way for an even more permanent monarchy.
It's a chilling example of unintended consequences. Robert Greene points this out, saying something like, "People's thinking is remarkably simple and lazy. Kill Caesar and the republic returns."
Action A leads to B.
But Greene stresses any phenomenon is complex. Any action sets off a limitless chain of reactions. It is never so simple as A leads to B.
B leads to C, D, and who knows what else.
Exactly. It requires, he says, depth of thinking, the ability to imagine the downstream effects, the permutations.
Which is hard to do when you're caught up in fear or a single intense focus.
Very hard. It's a warning against that seductive simplicity of just doing something without deeply considering the ripples.
That really lands. Okay, so if we're so easily influenced and our actions can backfire so spectacularly, how can you, listening, be more proactive?
How can you choose what you absorb to grow positively instead of reacting out of fear or simplistic thinking?
Right. There's that bit of ancient wisdom in the sources. You were born to win, but in order to be a winner, you have to plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win.
That's not passive, is it? Plan, prepare, expect. It implies deliberate effort.
Shaping your inputs, your mindset, your internal chemistry.
And what's amazing is how many different traditions echo this idea of internal work, of self-mastery.
Like who?
Well, Buddha, famously. It's better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles.
The real victory is internal.
That's the core message. Gaining mastery over what influences you, your own impulses, your perceptions, that's the toughest and most important battle.
That sounds huge, though. Conquering yourself, where do you even start?
It's maybe less about one giant battle and more about consistent daily choices, small acts of intentional absorption.
Okay.
The Dalai Lama talks about joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom, and he adds that cooperation with and kindness toward fellow beings is extremely important.
So it's an active, ongoing effort, joyous effort. That's interesting.
Yeah, cultivating these qualities day by day,
Yeah.
focusing your attention, choosing kindness,
Mhm.
these directly shape what you absorb and therefore what you radiate.
Actively engaging with the world from that place instead of just letting the world happen to you.
Well put.
Yeah.
And then Yogi Paja has that really direct instruction. Live light, travel light, spread the light, be the light.
Be the light.
When you intentionally choose to absorb light, things like truth, kindness, wisdom, even just simple gratitude,
You can't help but reflect it.
you can't help but radiate it. And again, it doesn't have to be some grand spiritual thing all the time. You can be as simple as noticing, genuinely noticing, wow, it's a beautiful day for soccer, or whatever it is.
And letting that simple positive thought actually land, actually color your perspective.
Yes, that small act of choosing a positive frame of gratitude, it changes your internal state. It changes the soil, and that changes what you put back out.
And it means we're not stuck, right? The color we are now isn't permanent.
Absolutely not. That's the message of hope that runs through this too. What's broken can be mended. What's hurt can be healed.
Even if things feel really dark.
And no matter how dark it gets, the sun is going to rise again. It's not just, wishful thinking. It's tied to this principle.
By changing what you absorb.
By choosing nourishing inputs, you can heal, you can grow, you can change the pH of your inner world.
And watch new colors emerge.
Exactly. New, more vibrant colors.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's bring it back one last time to that core idea, the hydrangea principle.
We reflect what we take in.
Just like the flowers. Influence isn't optional. It's just part of being human. The real question is, how intentional are we going to be about it?
About the sources of that influence. Because the opportunities to choose are constant.
Every day, every interaction, every click, every conversation, it's a chance to select what goes into that inner garden.
And that discernment, that intentional cultivation, that's where our agency really lies.
It's an ongoing practice.
Definitely.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to chew on from the sources. It's a quote by Yevgeny Yevtushenko. Time has a way of demonstrating that the most stubborn are the most intelligent.
Stubborn intelligence. Interesting phrase.
So consider this. How can you apply that kind of stubborn intelligence, that persistent, maybe even defiant commitment?
To discerning unhealthy inputs.
Mm.
To resisting that simplistic A leads to B thinking that can cause so much trouble.
And maybe more importantly, how can you use that stubborn intelligence to persistently cultivate the mental, the spiritual soil?
That actually produces the life you want, the inner state you aspire to.
What kind of beautiful, vibrant flowers do you truly want to grow in the garden of your mind and heart?
That's the question to carry forward.
Think about that. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.